And welcome back, everybody, to the Paws Up podcast. Episode 88 is upon us. I am Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Kevin Barral, and we have another guest from the FIU football team. It's always cool when we get guests that reach out to us to be on the show, so you know we had to make it happen. It's offensive lineman Julius Pierce. Julius, how are you doing, my man?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Loving being back. Just life is good.
Oh, that's great to hear, man. Thanks for being on. And like I said before the show, I've always wanted to have an offensive lineman on the show. It's a position that, can be sometimes be overlooked. So this should be a fun episode, Julius. But we got to start where it always starts, with me asking the guest, when did you first start playing football, and when did you realize that this was something that you wanted to pursue as a career?
So growing up, I just felt I loved the game, since a youngin', I started walking and, I could see it's something I wanted to do. Ray Lewis was one of the first people that got me into it. So I started playing football, didn't organize football, 8th grade. Yeah, pretty much that's the whole story, From then on, it's just keep climbing and working.
So why offensive lineman?
Well, in high school, I played tight end. That was about, let's call it 80 pounds ago. A little more fluid in my movements back then. But, with the frame, a lot of college coaches said I could hold 300 pounds easy, so just trusting their word and, putting that weight on. That's what got me here.
So, unfortunately, like we talked about, the offensive line position is one of those positions on the football field that can be overlooked compared to, the quarterback, the weapons. Just talk about being a lineman. What are some facts about being part of the O-line that you could share that the average football fan just might not know about?
Well, I'll tell you what, those are the ticket sellers. Those are the people that get the people in the seats, and they deserve all the glory. We're just the hogs up front that, we're the engine, A Lamborghini looks real good, but it don't drive without the engine. But a couple fun facts. I'll tell you what, man. We're probably, without fail, the funniest group on the field.
I believe it.
From team to team, we'll make fun of each other more than anybody else will. So we're thick-skinned. We're a pretty funny group. We're always super tight-knit. You have to be. 5 guys, 1 heartbeat. So those are a couple fun facts, things that I love about playing offensive line.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So let's talk about your initial commitment to FIU way back in late 2018. Born in Columbus, that's Big Ten country, but being raised over in Sanford, which I believe is just north of Orlando. How did they, reach out to you and made you initially pull the trigger?
So that I would actually have to go back to my freshman year. So Kalen Wiggins was a great quarterback for us, and he was a heck of a ball player in high school. He had his entire recruiting process. Everything was smooth, this and that. Him and his father really watched over me, and there are 2 people I'd love to shout out and show love to because I would not be where I am without those 2.
Go for it.
So he came here, and as his process was unfolding, and that was back in the Butch days, a while ago. Mm-hmm. They really treated him well, and the program was trending in the right direction, and there were a lot of good things about FIU. So yeah, his father, it was somebody whose word, like I said, to go back on that, somebody whose word I trusted a whole bunch, and my recruiting process as a tight end wasn't the best, wasn't. Mm-hmm. I'm faster for an offensive lineman, but I'm not fast for a tight end, So it's kind of slow as a tight end, but as I started opening up more to wanting to play offensive line and being, willing to contribute to a team that way, that's when things started rolling in. So FIU initially offered me as a tight end. Then they pulled that offer. I came to a couple camps and all that goodness. You still had the relationships and everything, but, at the end of the day, business is business. And, somebody's running a 5.440 in high school. It's got it down, but as a tight end, I'm not going to, contribute a lot to a team. So they pulled the offer. But then the offensive line coach at that time was Alan Mogridge. Great man, great coach. He came up and saw me, and we had a face-to-face meeting, and he saw me. He was just like, wow, man, I'd love to get you down to Miami, suited up in our gear and all that goodness. And from then on, that's kind of when I knew, like, that's somebody I wanted to learn under. This is a program I want to be a part of. So that's the story of how I became a Panther and haven't looked back. Well, I kind of looked back for a little, a little break, but here I am.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into a little bit of that of your time over at Middle Tennessee. But just talk to us about those first 2 years. Unfortunately, just didn't get on the field. Just how tough was that for you? And what was your mentality like those first 2 years? Just keep working, trying to get on the field, which you eventually did in 2022, or I'm sorry, 2021, and you played in 10 games.
The mentality was a whole bunch of, every freshman coming in, they want to, do good for the team. But I kind of was on the opposite end of that. I knew I was going to redshirt. I knew it was a whole different world I was stepping into, from running stick 9 routes and trying to break the ankles of a middle linebacker, to blocking a 280 pound defensive lineman, So I kind of knew I was going to redshirt. The mentality was just put this weight on, get stronger, adapt. It was a whole lot of adapting and just staying hungry. That was the mentality. Like holistically, was just trying to stay with it, be consistent, stay hungry. Your time is coming type deal. Because Shane Magoo, if you guys remember him from a couple weeks back, he was an animal. He was a dog, a great player. And then when I thought it was my time, that was probably one of the more challenging things inward, but I got over it quick. Because they brought in Oppie he was a transfer from Kansas, and he was another stud. So it's kind of like when the guy in front of you is that much apart from where your abilities are, it's hard to get upset. So I kind of just stayed patient and, took all the knowledge that I could in from those individuals. And just stayed hungry. As the days went by, I knew I was doing what I could to get better and better. So yeah, mindset was pretty simple. Just stay hungry and wait your turn,
So in 2021, you made 1 start, and we usually ask this to the athletes. Do you remember what team you faced when you made your first start at FIU?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oppie, who I just talked about, they bumped him over to left guard and moved me up to center. And that was against Southern Miss. Heck of a game. Yeah. And a little fun fact about that. That was kind of like the beginning of an idea for me that didn't end up happening until earlier this past year. Before that game, one of their senior defensive linemen, it was their senior day, last game of the year, he proposed to his girlfriend. So then this past November, our senior day, was the week before we came down to play FIU, actually. I ended up proposing to my girlfriend. So I kind of, he put that little bug in my ear, and we ended up losing the game. So it was a good day, bad day, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, Southern Miss. It was a great game.
So just talk about that season, and it was a tough one, but you finally got to get on the field. You made 10 appearances at 1 start. Just how much did that help you going into 2022?
I think it helped me heaps. There's a difference between blocking the same dude over and over and over in practice and, trying to game plan, but kind of knowing you're on the verge of not playing versus going out there and actually doing it. So when my number was finally called in 21, that season, getting my feet wet was huge for the next year, being able to go out there and not have any nervousness, be completely ready to just do what I do, just play ball. So it was huge that first year.
And then we look at 2022, first year under Coach Mack. You make 11 appearances. You made 8 starts. Talk about that season. New coach, a lot of new faces, and a lot of new at FIU. How tough was that transition? Just what you take away from the transition, and obviously a 4-8 season after going 1-11 the year prior. Huge boost for you guys. Continuing on.
They brought in a lot of great guys. It was definitely a culture shift, is what I'll use. Coach Davis was a little more laid back and in the kindest way. Mac, his style was a little more, I don't know, like tight-knit, I guess I'll say. Like he was over pretty much everything. So it was definitely a change for me, But they brought in some great dudes, the staff as a whole, great men. I was able to learn a lot about them. Coach Ergel, he was a tight ends coach and the offensive line coach the year I left. He was awesome. Coach Austin, Gregory Austin, is probably my favorite coach all time. Great man, great coach. So adapting to that, it wasn't the hardest thing. It was more so just on the field things, was the new I had to adjust to, because the change of offense was the biggest thing I had to adjust to, because we went full tempo, and going to practice and getting your butt whipped every day in the Miami Heat was something different. Running 30 plays in 10 minutes. It felt like that was the biggest change I think that we as a team had to adapt to. But I tell you what, boy, it got me good.
There you go. And obviously, after that season, you weren't the only one that entered the portal and left a lot of people enter the portal. Just talk about why you decided to go into the portal and why Middle Tennessee. You stayed in the conference. You were going to see FIU a couple times a year, so not a huge move for not that it's a huge move, not that it's not a huge move, but
Right.
New team, same conference, so you're going to see FIU. You're going to see a lot of the teams that you were accustomed to seeing already.
Yeah. So when I left FIU, it was kind of I don't want to say bad blood. I love this place, but it was definitely reasons why I left. Just I didn't feel like I personally fit in with what was going on and stuff like that. But moving to Middle Tennessee, I think it was a great move. Just at the time, getting there and playing under Coach Stockstill, it was a blessing. He was, his coaching tree extends miles and miles. I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but I think he was the first guy who gave Coach Simmons a chance to, be a play.
I want to say so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of one of those full circle moments. But he's awesome. He's great, and his staff there was great. But how I ended up getting there, so they were our final test of the season. Final game and all that goodness. And I ended up just having a really good game. So Coach Mike Polly, who was their offensive line coach, hit me up within hours of being in the portal. So that ended up just, kind of working out that way. And being up there, it like I said, it was great. It was seeing FIU once a year was also great, because for me, it was kind of like my Super Bowl. Sometimes it's like my homecoming. Seeing a lot of guys I still knew, and even with the craziness of the transfer portal, there's still plenty of guys on the team that are familiar faces. So, once a year, knowing I get to go in there and butt heads not on a practice field with some familiar faces was pretty fun, pretty interesting, to stay in conference.
So let's talk about 2023 with Middle Tennessee. I would say it was your breakout year. You played in all 12 games that season. From someone who is from Florida, both Sanford and the 305, talk about that culture shock of going to a place like Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and how you adjusted and kind of just made a name for yourself over there.
It was definitely different. I think that's the only word to explain it. Florida's just so fast, and especially down here in Miami, it's just it'll take you 15 minutes to drive 3 miles. That's just the way it is. It's the way of life down here. It's there's not a complaint. It's fun, but I've always been an old soul, so that was more my speed moving up there. So it was kind of easy to adjust, and it was, I tell you what was real challenging was having 4 seasons, because down here you get summer, so seeing snow and actually not just being for a 2-day trip going to play Marshall was a little different. So that the weather and the speed of life up there, it's all completely different, a little more like my speed, like I said. So it wasn't too rough of a transition for me personally, but as far as making a name for myself, I think I just went up there and kind of did me. Some great time down here with some great individuals. Like I said, Coach Austin, Coach Mo, Coach Rodriguez. I've had a number of coaches come through, during my time here, my first time. So I kind of just took a little bit from everything that they all taught me and translated it up to just another practice field up there. And I think that's what got me to where I was.
So during your time with Middle Tennessee in 2023, and let's just clarify something. FIU, us fans, we don't like Tennessee on what they've done to the Panthers all these years ago. That's why last season was so refreshing to finally take them down. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
But during that year, it was a 40-6 win for the Blue Raiders. That's why. Okay, stuff like that happened. But I want to know, Julius, where were your emotions the days leading up to that game? You got to see your former teammates, your former coaches, but this time you weren't in the blue and gold. You were in the blue and white, and I guess silver of Middle Tennessee.
Oh, well, that's still kind of had a bad taste in my mouth, from when I left. So I kind of said it a little bit earlier. It was like my Super Bowl, leading up to that game. I try to stay pretty level, regardless of what it is. Even my first start that we talked about, it was just another day at the office, but that week it was kind of a little bit more challenging to keep myself contained and in that little bubble of consistency I like to stay in. Yeah, it was my Super Bowl leading up to that game. So I was on the sideline talking smack to people I'd known for 4 years at that point, like Keegan Davis, heck of a ball player, but I was in his ear the entire time. Or like Hezekiah Masses, another great ball player, but he could not get the end of it from me. I lost my voice, and it was just I had a great time, but I wouldn't come back if I didn't love this place. I just had to get over that hump of emotions and all that goodness. But I don't know. Going forward is going to be a little more challenging for me seeing them face off because, I have a diploma from both. I've spent some great time at both, and degree. And so it's like, I don't know, going for it. But that particular week, I was excited to strap up and play some ball.
I don't know if you knew this, Julius, but the last time FIU beat Middle Tennessee at Floyd Stadium was 2011. Back then, Willie Simmons was still a coach at Middle Tennessee. FIU had Frank Ponce and Ed Potta on the FIU staff with Mario Cristobal. What makes it so tough to play at Floyd Stadium for an opposing team?
I think part of that is they have a pretty good community that gets behind their team. It's kind of unfortunate this past season. We worked our butts off all year, and the first game was almost sold out, but then we got hit with lightning and I don't know, a 4 hour some odd delay. So it kind of emptied out by the time we started to play, but people want to support them. And it's kind of an intimidating stadium just to be in because of the size of it. And, like they're starting to build it up even more. So, just kind of walking into that. Some of the sites, I think, kind of take your mind off the game. And the other thing is, for us in particular, coming down and, it's mid-November, and it's 88 degrees, humid as all get out. You go up there and it's 19 degrees and the air is thin, and it's a little bit, that might be part of it, I think.
So I wanted to ask you, Julius, you had the highs of 2023, you played in every game, and unfortunately 2024, you only played, I want to say 42 snaps, and you had a leg injury. Talk to us about that. How tough was that when it happened? And I think you just ended up missing the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was rough. That was far and away the toughest offseason I've ever had. And I got better because of it. I'm thankful for it. But finally get through it. You get to hit somebody else. Lights are bright. People are watching. Then 42 plays into it. Like you said, we had a running back roll up in the back of my leg, and it snapped clean in half. So that was – it was rough emotionally. You say something about how to get through it?
Yeah. How'd you get through it?
So how to get through that? It was emotionally at first it was rough, but kind of said it before. I like to stay on that consistent wave of emotion. So I broke it. I'm on the field. I'm crying. I'm cussing. I'm doing all this. Like why? But one of the biggest blessings of getting up there was I kind of to deviate. Developed a strong relationship with God, that's just the way it took me. So just a few days, it took me maybe 2-3 days to kind of understand, like, this isn't for no reason, it's whatever, what is being upset going to change, so I kind of found myself back on a positive path within, 2-3 days. And like I said, I don't think it was for no reason because here I am, I left before I finished my first degree from here. So I get to finish that, I'm down here with a great staff. Coach Simmons is a heck of a man, heck of a coach, and I can't wait to give him my all this fall. So getting through it initially, like I said, horrible, but didn't take long, and it got me to where I am now. So nothing but smiles and gratefulness for me.
Yeah, and we're pumped to see you out there this fall too. Julius, were you here in Miami when on that last game of the year against FIU? When did you travel with the team or no?
I did. So that was a great homecoming. Yeah, it was nice to be back, and it was strange being on the visitor sideline, with how many games I played in what's now Pitbull Stadium on the home sideline. It's a different view, and it felt kind of funky.
So just talk about that. You mentioned that season ends. Mike McIntyre is fired. They hire Willie Simmons. When did this idea of you potentially returning kind of come up? When did you start talking to Willie and I guess Ipata to come back to FIU and finish out your career here?
So one of the reasons I was pretty emotional when I first broke my leg was I didn't know what was next. It was supposed to be my last year. I'd supposed to do all these things, go train for the draft, go, or get a job, whatever fate had for me. There were so many questions. And up until literally the early portal window opened, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just kind of threw my name in there and whatever happened type deal. But the first time I hopped in the portal when I left FIU, Coach Simmons was still the head coach at FAMU. So we kind of developed the relationship. I took an unofficial visit up there. We had a great conversation while I was there. And Coach Henry was the offensive line coach, who's now on our staff as an offensive analyst. And he was the offensive line coach. Me and him also had great conversations. Everything was great. But I ended up ultimately, obviously not choosing FAMU. So we had that relationship from there. So being in the portal, I think I texted Coach Simmons first. And with all the craziness, we hosted the state championships and, you had to hire staff and everything. So it kind of took a little minute for it to develop. But as soon as I got that confirmation that I was wanted at FIU, I was like, heck yeah, dude. Like, I can't wait to strap up and give you everything I got, for this last year. So that's kind of how the ball got rolling, and haven't looked back since.
So, since you left and came back, what happened? FIU football had a uniform rebrand. It was pretty nice. A new name for the football stadium, Pitbull Stadium, and a brand new coaching staff and a roster that's like just almost completely different. So how similar and or different was it, moving back here, touring the facilities, and getting to know everybody when compared to the first time around?
First time getting here, it was still excellent, through my eyes being able to play D1 football. But I tell you what, coming back, it is worlds apart. And I personally, a whole heap of people go into it, but personally want to credit a lot of that to our AD, Scott Carr. Mm-hmm. He is doing everything, working days and nights, talking to a lot of people, shaking a lot of hands, getting a lot of stuff done. But yeah, like you said, like the locker room changed after I left. Within, I felt like months, they got a brand new locker room. Yeah, the coaching staff changed, everything. So coming back, it's a little easier adjusting this time, because it's not as much of a challenge finding where Graham Center is or, where the Chick-fil-A is, a little more familiar. But yeah, adjusting hasn't been too difficult, but noting a lot of the differences, I think it's definitely trending up. Like there's no doubt about that with recruits and everything, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, alrighty, Kevin, is it time for a quick look around FIU athletics?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay, here's around FIU athletics. Who to watch out for from the 305. We have three sports to talk about. Let's get right into it with baseball. And how ironic is this? This weekend, they're going to be on the road in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, taking on the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee, starting on Friday, March 28th at 7 o'clock. Saturday games at 4, and then the Sunday matinees at 2 o'clock. All those games can be seen on ESPN+. This actually starts a pretty lengthy road trip that'll also include a matchup in Coral Gables in Miami, and then the next week over at Ruston to take on Louisiana Tech. FIU's next home game is going to be all the way on Friday, April the 11th, when they take on New Mexico State. Next up is FIU softball, who is also on the road this week, taking on the Jacksonville State Gamecocks for a 3-game series. That's going to start on Friday, March 28th at 7 o'clock, then continue to the day after at 3, and then the Sunday game at 2 o'clock. Once again, all of those games can be seen on ESPN+. They'll then head back home for a midweek matchup against the ranked Florida Atlantic Owls on Wednesday, April the 2nd. And then lastly is FIU Beach Volleyball. They're getting ready for an invitational over at Pompano Beach, where they're taking on Palm Beach State, Florida Gulf Coast, and Tulane, which is a CUSA opponent in beach volleyball. The Palm Beach State game is on Friday, April the 4th at 10 o'clock. Then they take on Tulane twice in the doubleheader on Friday and Saturday. Then they'll finish up this invitational at against Florida Gulf Coast on Saturday, April the 5th at 2:30 p.m. So that was a pretty short look at around FIU athletics. So, Julius, let's get right back into it, talking about this season. Kevin, I think you're going to take it away.
Yeah, Julius, I think you're playing center now for FIU. Just talk about that and how this spring has gone for you. And is this your first time playing center on an offensive line, at least collegiately?
No, I played primarily center when I was here the first go around. Kind of bounced around a little bit. I was up until my number was called, I was like the sixth man, kind of go in wherever they need me. But center's kind of been home for me. But as far as the spring goes, started out as a center, but now they got me playing left tackle, which I love. When Coach Pato was recruiting me, he said, "Where's home for you?" I said, "Center." I like getting out there and taking the charge, but at the end of the day, Coach, I just put a helmet on and hit people. So yeah, we just play ball, but that's all it is.
So you kind of mentioned it. Just talk about this offensive line. You mentioned at the start, funniest group in your opinion, the guys who will get the driving factor for an offense, and that's as true as it gets. Just what's it been like working with that group so far?
Oh, it's been excellent. We have guys who are eager to learn, and it hasn't always been that way just across different teams, and that alone, is something that will get us to where we want to go eventually, hoisting a trophy at the beginning of December of this year. So yeah, eager to learn. It's been great, with these guys. I have been playing college ball, for some would say too long, but quite a long time. But they're still able to teach me a bunch of different things that I didn't know before playing with them. So I've personally become a better player just in these few months I've been with them, or then these 2-3 weeks we've been going through spring ball. It's just been great top to bottom. Pot is a heck of a coach. He brings a different style that demands to be respected by all players and coaches alike. So like I said, it's been great.
All right. Keywan Jenkins, lights out. Talk about what you've seen from him in the interactions you've given him and vice versa to make sure that he's not going to get taken down this season.
He's just somebody, you talk to him and it's like, wow, like he's a stud, like this is a dude right here.
Yeah.
And he's just a natural leader. So it's great having that, because been a part of some teams who have had quarterback challenges, and no diss to the individuals, but 2020 we went up to Liberty and we played 3 quarterbacks. I think it was that way for a few weeks, and they were all great players. I guess that's part of why we had to play 3 of them, because they were all just pretty good.
Yeah.
But Lights is just he's a dude. He walks in a room and everybody's like, "Yo, like what's up?" And he's making sure handshakes and eye contact with everybody. Like those are just the natural things that he does without thinking that garners him so much respect. But that's just outside of football. In football, it's great watching him play. Or I guess, blocking for him and feeling him play behind me, I guess, but he's gonna, regardless of what happens, he's gonna tell us good job, or like motivate us to make sure the pocket stays clean. Like if we are having a bad day, bad play or whatever, like he tells us how it is, but in the best way possible. He always has the best, way of words, I guess, that will spark the offensive line and the team. But he stays calm in that pocket. He's delivering it exactly where it needs to go. Every time he throws the ball, he's putting it in a basket, and we have playmakers outside who are going to grab that thing. So it's like, it's been awesome. It's been a heck of an experience playing with Lights.
Yeah.
As an offensive line, you guys look at last season. I know it's a different group for the most part, except maybe Jaheim Cannon and a couple of guys who were backups, but this was an offensive line group that allowed the least amount of tackle sacks in CUSA. Does that kind of put any pressure on you guys, where you guys are like, all right, like we did this one year, now it's a new coach, and we want to elevate that. We want to get that to the next game. Is there any pressure knowing that, that last year's group really set the standard for you guys in terms of just protecting the quarterback?
I'll tell you what, pressure is not really the word we would use for it. This unit, we're going to say that's the standard. If we let up more than ASAC 2 max a game, Lights doesn't deserve that, and that's not our job. We don't strap up and work our butts off to go out there and let them get hit. So that's the standard. It's not as much pressure as it is expected from us. We're going to put in the work and we're going to do things that I don't want to say deserve, but are going to put us in position to match and exceed the standard that was set last year.
So the running game, they need holes to run through, right? And this running back room for FIU has some insane potential. What's it been like working with runners like Devontae Lyons, Keyshawn Owens, AJ Allen against a dangerous FIU defense in practices?
It's been awesome. We have 3 absolute dudes back there, KJ, AJ, and Lyons, dude. I'm telling you, each of them brings something different. I think KJ is like the more patient kind. He knows like, okay, if it's this kind of play, it should open up here, and if it doesn't, I can take it back here. AJ's more the like, we're gonna call our standard inside zone, and then he's just gonna bust it out for an 80-yard touchdown. And then Lyons, he's another guy, just brings a whole bunch to the game. So it's been a blessing, dare I say, blocking for them, because this defense, we are pretty stout up front, and the linebackers right behind them, they're doing everything dang near perfect every day at practice, it feels like, because it's hard to rip off big plays against a defense like that. But between those 3, and then we got an FIU legend, his little brother, Lexington Joseph's little brother's coming in the fall.
Yeah.
So we're going to be loaded and we're going to be ready, but just to answer the question as a whole, it's been awesome blocking for him. Makes our job easy,
So there's a lot of fun opponents FIU is going to take on this season. We've seen the schedule. But on Saturday, November 8th, FIU will be heading to Murfreesboro, Floyd Stadium, to take on Middle Tennessee. How much have you already been thinking about this game, and just how do you think you'll handle the emotions of just being back there?
I think the only thing I'll be thinking about is seeing my fiance, my family, all that goodness. Well, that's after the game. Handling the emotions, I don't think will be too rough for me at this point. I've done it twice, coming back down to play here, or, hosting FIU, playing the old team. So for those 60 minutes that were between whistles, all the friends I made up there, it's just going to have to be, we'll be friends when the clock hits 0 and we beat y'all, But I think it'll be all right handling that. It's going to be definitely a fun week, between the phone calls and the texts saying, hey, can't wait to whoop your butt, or, like whatever trash talk we get into. It's going to be fun, that week. But I think I'm going to handle it all right, just from a personal level. Let's go up there and handle business.
So we're doing spring practices on campus, but there's going to be a couple of sessions where they're going to be off campus. So just talk about your excitement for that specifically, being able to practice in front of the fans, maybe create some new fans, some new friends along the way all over the South Florida area, which, as you know, I'm sure you know, is absolutely ripe, full of talent for the taking.
Playing in front of them, I think that's going to be an awesome thing, because it's going to build a lot of excitement, with what we're developing throughout these practices. Will you guys be at most of the off-campus practices?
We're going to try to make it out, yeah.
I'll be there on Saturday. Yep.
Having y'all and people like Section 112. Do you guys know about Section 112?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Love those guys. Love that group of people. So hopefully they can make it out, see them, because it's been a while. They're FIU diehards. Love having them at every game. But the community as a whole, for us to be able to kind of build that excitement and show them, Coach Simmons, he's bringing something special down to South Florida. That's going to be a great opportunity just to get out there and play some ball. Do what we do and let the people see that this ain't no joke that's coming up this fall.
So, alrighty, Julius, you've been awesome so far in this episode. As we start to close up shop here, let's get into some fun rapid fire questions. Starting off with a question that you set yourself up for, talking about how the offensive line group are the kings of comedy. But who would you say is the funniest teammate on this FIU squad so far?
Ooh, Uh, I'd have to think about that one. Rapid fire. Let's go. KJ, our running back. He's easily up there. He's probably the first one I'd have to think of.
Alrighty. Who's getting the ox and who's not getting the ox?
I don't think I'm getting ox. I play a whole bunch of country music, and I don't think that bodes well down in South Florida. Who is getting the ox? I'd have to give it, pick your poison from virtually any defensive lineman. They're right by the little control center in the locker room, and they usually do a good job. Gets the team fired up, for practice in the mornings and whatnot. So I'd say pick your poison out of any of them.
So where is the go-to spot for you, Julius, to grab food on campus?
On campus. Ooh. Kind of embarrassing, but they know my order, my drink, everything top to bottom at Chili's. They know my face, my name, so I'm a regular there. Yeah.
Hey, that's okay. Kiwan said he goes there. Have you seen Kiwan there?
I have a few times. Yeah,
there you go.
Alrighty. Jake kind of alluded to it. A lot of uniforms here. New uniform combo every time. Mm-hmm. Which one are you looking forward to rocking? I know Willie was talking in our episode. There's going to be another Vice uniform. Just what's your favorite combo? Which one are you looking forward to wearing? Just give us some jersey talk right now.
I'm very excited to wear the Vice uniforms because that started the year after I left. So I haven't had an opportunity to put those on yet. So that'd probably be top of the list of what I'm looking forward to this year.
Who is the greatest offensive lineman in football history, in your opinion?
Ooh. I'd have to say in recent years, Jason Kelce. That's someone that I look up to, as a player because the way he moves, his intelligence of the game and everything. But yeah, I think I'm just going to stay there with that one, Jason Kelce.
Perfect. Yeah.
Do you want to follow in his footsteps and start a podcast after you retire?
Oh, absolutely. Be able to sit down and talk ball and life and everything in between, dude. Yeah, he's living it up.
All righty.
Oh, I do have one more question because I have heard some of the nastiest trash talking in a football game comes from the trenches. So what's the greatest trash talking that either you delivered or you've heard someone else deliver?
Oh, it is countless. I'm personally I like to compare it to a Tim Duncan style trash talker. I'm not going to go out there and say a bunch of, crazy things, or I'm not going to make it personal or whatever. It's like, you're my opponent, not my enemy. I'd like to, leave it at that. But when I have you and I'm grabbing onto you, I'm gonna let you know that right now I'm better than you. So I'm gonna call you all kinds of names, but best bit of trash talk. I don't know. Shamar Habuli, who played tackle and guard for us a couple years ago, couldn't think of anything, off the top of my head, but he was great at it. He was getting people's heads easily.
Is there any time where someone says something like trash talking and it just makes you laugh? Is there ever any that moment that just mid-game you just start laughing because of how funny that trash talk is?
I don't think it's been that way since high school. There is a lot of trash talk, but playing center, and I'm so focused on what's in front of me, I zone it all out. I hear the play, and I'm like, all right, where are we going? What are we doing, I will say I had to play tackle a whole bunch my last year here. There was, I can't remember what he said, what he did, but it was this defensive end from UConn, and he would not shut up. Maybe he was a D tackle, but he was going. Actually, no, I can tell you a great one who ended up being a coach. His name was we called him Coach JK, even before he was a coach. He was a defensive lineman for Middle Tennessee, and it's somewhere on film you can see we threw an interception. I think it was to their defensive back, number 30 or safety. And I'm blocking him. I'm talking trash to him. Like I said, I'm like, yeah, I got you. We throw a pick, and you can see him jumping up and down, and that definitely got to me because I'm like, yeah, I finally got you, whatever. But yeah, no, that one's probably the one I think about the most because it was like we were on our way back to winning the game. That one kind of sealed it for him. So that one was rough. That's probably one of the best bits of it to answer the question.
And we always ask to every guest, who should be the next player on the FIU football team that we bring on the podcast?
Oh, let's go. Trying to think somebody that'd give you entertaining, Have you had KJ yet?
No, we
He
haven't.
has a personality on him.
Okay.
He has a personality on him. I
Very
think that'd be a good one.
That's awesome. Have we had a running back on the show, Kev? I don't think.
Oh no, we had flex. We had
Flex, of course. So we want to fill out every position. I don't think we've had a receiver yet, but KJ.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we've gotten Keywan. Now we got an O-line. We've got a lot of players from defense. Just trying to fill out every position. You feel so. But yeah, we've heard great things from him in the pressers and whatnot. So yeah, I agree. So, Julius, once again, thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight. As we always do, I'll leave you with one more thing to say. If you have anything that you would like to say to the fans, to FIU, to anybody in particular, the floor is now yours.
All right. Well, primarily, definitely want to say, hey, Mom. Hey, Uncle Justin. Hey, Grandma. You know, all the goodness. Hello to my beautiful fiance, Brooklyn. But to the fans, this fall is going to be very exciting. We cannot wait to get Pitbull Stadium packed out. We have something beautiful in store for you guys coming up. We're working at it every day. We're going to put on a great show for you guys. Can't wait to see you in the fall and Paws Up.
Couldn't have said that any better. So, Julius, once again, man, thank you so much. Not just for getting on here, but for actually reaching out to us and saying, hey, can I get on? We always love it when the players do that, so we can't thank you enough.
I know. I thank you guys. It's been a blessing. And even seeing you guys, you know, after some time away, that's a blessing. It's a privilege. So thank y'all.
All righty. So 89 around the corner. We're going to make some history on episode 89, Kevin. Some Paws Up history. You'll have to wait and see what that is. 90 around the corner. That should be a fire episode. But until then, saying thank you to everybody. Go support the team. Go to some practices. Definitely make it out to the ones at the parks where you can actually go and watch them. And, of course, spring game right around the corner. So until then, Paws Up!